The announcement of President Ramaphosa on 16 March 2020 regarding the evolving COVID-19 epidemic and emergency measures has left many employers uncertain on the status of their expatriate employees and what should be done during the period of travel restrictions. Marisa Jacobs, director of Xpatweb, has regular contact with the Department of Home Affairs as Xpatweb assists their clients to navigate the often complex processes of securing work visas. She recently talked to the department to clarify the impact of the COVID-19 travel restrictions on passport and work visa applications. Why are expatriates important to the South African economy?
Expatriates are employed in South Africa under numerous work visa categories. Those work visa categories are in accordance with the Immigration Act, and they are issued per category depending on what a person qualifies for and for specific periods of time. Now, those categories are generally designed to either assist companies to attract critical skills from abroad. They are put in place to assist to attract investment and business interest in the country, and then of course also to make resources available to employers where those resources are not usually readily available in the country. Now, the ability for employers to have skilled and expatriate workers available, especially for multinationals and large corporates, becomes very, very important in economic uncertainty in the country. It's important to note that those expatriates should remain compliant with legal requirements at all times, even in uncertain times, and that employers must keep themselves up to date with what the changing procedures are in a time like this when we're dealing with a public health crisis.
What will happen to these expatriates if their visas expire during the time of travel restrictions?
I think it's important to answer that question in two parts. So the first would be passports, and ensuring that passports that have expired or have become full are renewed and looked after, and then of course the visa part. So from a passport perspective, it's important for expatriates to go to the embassy of their home country within South Africa, go get their passports renewed. Do that as soon as possible. We're seeing more and more countries going to lockdown and closures as this happens, and embassies will also be impacted. So if your passport has expired or is due to expire soon or is almost full, please, we encourage expatriates to go and renew their passports, get new passports. Visas can still be transferred from old passports to new passports, and that can be done in South Africa. From a visa expiry perspective, so the government has classified medium and high risk countries. So what's important is concessions have been put in place by the Department of Home Affairs, and they've reacted very quickly, swiftly, and very clearly in terms of what is allowed and what is not allowed. Expats must renew their visas in country. Even those categories that normally wouldn't be allowed to be renewed in country, so such as intra-company transfer visas or short-term visas which has reached their maximum validity dates, the government has allowed for those visas to now be renewed in South Africa, and the correct channels must please be followed to ensure that there's no delay, and you can renew your visas up until a maximum of the 31st of July. And of course, the situation will continue being assessed by government, and additional concessions will be made available.
What happens in the case where the travel restrictions were implemented between the date the work visa was issued and the date the expatriate was supposed to travel?
So for the guys from the high-risk countries who had visas issued but who haven't entered South Africa yet, Those visas have, of course, been, so for Iran and China specifically, those visas have been revoked, and the guys will need to apply for new visas in order to enter the country. For guys traveling from visa exempt countries, government has now put in place that they will need to apply for visas. It will not be a full traditional visa process like we know it. What they really want is that they must present a medical certificate to show that they have been tested for the coronavirus and they have been tested negatively. The embassies in those countries will then issue them with a visa to allow them to travel to South Africa. But of course, if you're from a high-risk country, at the moment there's a travel ban and no one from a high-risk country will be able to enter South Africa until the travel ban has been uplifted.
What happens to those expatriates that happen to be on leave in their home countries and are now due to start working in South Africa again?
So for the guys, so the same will apply. So the guys who are currently home from a high-risk country, they have been banned from entering South Africa. If you are a foreign national and you've traveled to a high-risk country in the past 20 days, you will also not be able to enter. From a medium risk country, you are going to be subject to testing and quarantine procedures when you enter South Africa, depending on what the situation is. We're seeing this changing daily and sometimes hourly. So it's really important that you contact your embassy or the Department of Home Affairs or your immigration provider if you're unsure where to go, and check travel bans and check what is being allowed at the time when you need to travel, so that you can get up-to-date advice on how to enter the country and how not. The Minister of Home Affairs has made it very clear that they are checking the passenger rosters prior to planes disembarking in South Africa to make sure to check travel history and travel origin of travelers before they allow them to enter South Africa.
If an expat was to start work on a future date, should they apply for their work visa now, or should they wait until the travel restrictions have all been lifted?
My advice is to act quickly. If the South African embassy in your country is still allowing you to submit applications, submit now. Get your application processed so that when the travel ban is lifted, you have a visa in hand and you're in a position to travel immediately. Of course, once those travel bans are lifted, the embassies are going to be inundated with applications and you don't want to be part of that mad rush. So where you can, proceed. Of course, some South African embassies are not accepting applications at the moment. They have shut down. UK, for example, Sweden, Qatar, Dubai is on restricted staff. Canada have advised that they've closed down. So also this is changing daily. You can check our website for what are the latest closures. So if your embassy is not accepting at the moment, remember it takes about 4 to 8 weeks to prepare a visa application. Go through those processes, get your documentation in order, and then when your embassy opens again, you have your pack in hand and ready to go to submit. And where they are accepting, submit now, get your visa in hand, be proactive, plan ahead, and we are in uncertain times. Be proactive.
Will Xpatweb still be accepting clients and still be assisting with work visa applications during this time of travel restrictions?
Absolutely. We are well set up to work remotely. We are usually set up to work remotely, so this is not much of a change for us in terms of business as usual. We are still assisting. We're assisting a lot of our current with guys traveling or with home leave guys. So we are providing advice and we're accepting new clients where they need assistance. We're assisting a lot of guys with renewing their visas in country, assisting them with passport processes. So absolutely.
And where can people contact you? Where can they find you, Marisa?
Best is to go to our website, www.xpatweb.com, or they're welcome to email me directly on Marisa, Marisa, @xpatweb.com, or they can reach us on, guys are welcome to phone me or WhatsApp me directly on my mobile on 072 522 3690.
Done.